Hey, welcome to episode 40 of the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program. I'm your host, Dan Hugo, fellow entrepreneur, perhaps, right here in the greater Vegas area. Today, we are recording on the 1st of December, first Friday. And our topic today is our fun innovation destination. I've talked about the innovation destination before, although I have not really focused on it the way I would like to. That will come. I'd actually like to do episodes on that general topic with some people who are local innovators and discuss the finer points of relocating versus visiting Vegas in pursuit of innovation. But in the meantime, the fun economy is real. It's resilient, and it is not easily reproduced anywhere. Go to anywhere except for maybe Macau. If you go anywhere, you will hear about Las Vegas. You will very rarely hear people say, this is going to be the next Las Vegas. We're a destination city, allegedly among the top 5 city brands in the world. I have heard that. I did not hunt down that piece of information. Anecdotally, it's fair to say, I've heard this from many people in many different places. Las Vegas. Las Vegas is Las Vegas. It's a party city, all the fun economy components, people know. So are we going to be then the next Silicon Valley, which is a common expression? You're not going to be the next Las Vegas, other people, but Las Vegas wants to be the next Silicon Valley. There are several cities around the United States, and let's be honest, around the world, who would very much like to be the next Silicon Valley. Of course, they're imagining the positives, the upsides, the financial rewards to the local economy and to the probably a minority of people within it. There have been discussions and mentions, especially headline hype posted on LinkedIn in the Vegas sphere, not the MSG sphere. We have one of those too now. But the sphere of influence, the greater Vegas area, there are people who believe that we are going to be the next Silicon Valley as part of our economic diversity push to make sure that our economy is safe from happenstance, like a pandemic or other substantial downturn. When there is a recession, maybe sometime soon, will people tend to be taking advantage of the Las Vegas economy so much? Will they be visiting? Will they be taking part in our sporting events? Professional sporting events are coming on the scene very strong. Gaming, entertainment, tourism, conventions, right? That's essentially the fun economy, and it works. It made a nice comeback after the pandemic of 2020, and why not add tech? Why not become the next Silicon Valley? Okay. So the fun economy is a real thing. I am absolutely not anti-fun academy, not a member of the fun police. So is it a trademark? No. Is it pending? Apparently, as of August 2023. I have several links in the show notes, by the way. I have a link to an interview with my favorite economic development person at UNLV, Bo Bernard, on KNPR. It's not National Public Radio. It's Nevada Public Radio. KNPR with Joe Shoneman or whatever his name is. Not quite a fan of any of these people, really. So there's a link from August 2022, The Fun Economy, knpr.org. It's in the show notes, The Fun Economy. I found it interesting that during the presentation, Bo, in the article, I didn't listen to the show itself. Who listens to audio programs, right? Bo claims that fun economy is a trademark term. It was filed with the USPTO about 2 weeks prior to, or maybe 1 week prior to his appearance on the show. A filing does not make it a trademark. In fact, it will be a word mark, and you can see the history of the filing and the current status as of August 2023 in the link that follows in the show note links. The fun economy, not a trademark, only pending. That's interesting because you should know that. You should use words as if they have specific legal binding meanings. So that's always something to watch out for when people of authority don't know these things. So a quick recovery from the pandemic points to the fun economy being completely legitimate, pretty much reliable. As long as people can get to Las Vegas, and even if they can't, they still come here. Will there be a high-speed rail route from Los Angeles to Silicon Valley? Will there be a high-speed rail route between Los Angeles, Southern California, and Greater Las Vegas? Of course. Why? Because it will feed our economy and because people in Los Angeles do not want to wait on the ridiculous drive to and fro. I've only done it twice, maybe 3 times in my life. The airport here is quite functional. I would highly recommend that if you can. Avoid driving. But the high-speed rail will appear eventually to connect the money to Vegas. So that's the fun economy. Let me pull up. I have it also linked. It is the Billions and Billions link. It's an article from earlier in 2023. Let me pull up the Billions and Billions link. Mention a couple of things. Has to do with the upcoming, at the time, so this article was written prior to October 2023. It is the upcoming, here's the headline here. Unprecedented 5 months of Las Vegas events. Expected to bring in up to $15 billion. That's United States money with a B, billions, 15 billion. Let's run down this list real quick. IMEX America. I'm not sure what that is. That was October 17th. I'll just run through them. So from October 17th up until February 11th at the end of the Super Bowl. So I mentioned IMEX, IMEX, PBR Teams Championship, SEMA Show, UFI Global Congress, if I can say that correctly. Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame, possibly a ceremony of some sort. Las Vegas Grand Prix, we already know about that. We're going to talk about that more once some of the numbers come out. Durango Station, that's launching a new resort on the south side of the Strip. Congratulations, coming soon. November 20th, maybe December. Pac-12 football championship game, December 1st. Hey, that's today. NBA in-season tournament. Wrangler National Finals Rodeo. Rodeos are big here. Fontainebleau, Las Vegas, December 13th, opens at long last. It's only been a couple of decades, I think. No, it's been a while. Under construction. Finally, about to open. I'm not sure if the 13th will hold. I know that both Durango and Fontainebleau are still hiring. That's an interesting detail. The Las Vegas Bowl, December 23rd. New Year's Eve fireworks. That's right around December 31st this year. The Consumer Electronics Show, one of my favorites, January 5 through 8. That is not correct. It's January 9 through 12. So who knows if I can trust any of this list at this point. World of Concrete. It is a big thing. January 23rd to 25th. That's where you insert people's shoes when they talk too much, perhaps. And then Super Bowl, February 5. I don't know if that's right. Didn't check. I assumed that the news would get it right. This is Las Vegas. Nobody got murdered during this article, so who knows. The take-home is none of those were really focused on things like Global Entrepreneur Week, because that was the same week as the Grand Prix. So Formula One trumps global entrepreneurialism. The Military Influencer Conference was the week prior to that, which means that was probably trumped by preparations for obviously the Grand Prix was making all the news, all the trouble it was causing. This week, you may not know this, and of course, if you're listening to it sometime after, the 28th of November, that was a Tuesday, until the 2nd of December, that's tomorrow, that's a Saturday, Las Vegas Startup Week. True story. You never saw that in the press because nobody got murdered. So you heard a lot of events. Events are key. That's a major part of our fun economy. We don't need to have tech-centric events even. We have CES and we have NAB later. That's the CES, Consumer Electronics Show, NAB, National Association of Broadcasters. It's a lot of hardware. It's a lot of software. It's a lot of toys. A lot of good times. So people come here from other places to visit these shows and to interact with their colleagues and make deals and conduct business. And then they leave. That's going to be a theme. So all of the attention is on these events that bring in $15 billion. Those are done deals. Those dollars will be delivered by people carrying them to Las Vegas and dropping them off. Whether it's a convention organizer or an individual coming to town, not even for the trade show, but paying for rooms, paying for restaurants, eating things, going to shows, These things are all real. That's why I'm absolutely not against the fun economy. I knew about Vegas when I moved here 10 years ago, so no problem with the fun economy, even though it is not trademarked. Not yet. So why this ginormous, huge, humongous push for tech? Why do we need to have tech? Why do we need to pretend we're going to be the next Silicon Valley? This is not new. A lot of cities have done this. I have done an episode on why Utah and Arizona are far ahead of being of Greater Vegas, of Nevada in general, when it comes to being any next Silicon Valley. And there are other places around the country as well. So why do we want to be the next Silicon Valley? Well, blind envy. I think that's no small part. And I will say, in fairness, if you go to, say, Dubai, they have a fountain show that is very similar to Bellagio. Dubai had to have the biggest mall, so Mall of America is no longer the biggest crazy mall. It has the tallest building, so no longer the Sears Tower or is World Trade Center 1 now the tallest in the U.S.? I'm not sure. Anyway, yeah, the Burj. I've been to the Burj. It's cool. You should check it out. Nice view. Stay on the inside unless you're Tom Cruise. So we have envy and duplication. That is the sincerest form of flattery, don't you know? Those are fine. Those happen. So can we be the next Silicon Valley here in Southern Nevada? Well, I will tell you. I lived in Silicon Valley for 15 years, from 1993 until 2001, took a little break, moved to Arizona, moved back in 2005, moved to California. Moved away from California after a house fire in 2013, middle 2013, to Vegas. So had a nice time, learned a lot, spent time in a true innovation culture that was decades in the making. It is an interesting place with many interesting people. For the same reason that people might come to Las Vegas to see shows and to gamble and to partake in other touristy activities, people ventured to Silicon Valley to take part in innovation. That's completely obvious if you were there. It was a long time in the making. It was not something that was just sprinkled on top like a dessert topping. So after decades of being the actual Silicon Valley, Shockley, famous name, look it up, Shockley Semiconductors, the beginning of the beginning, and other aspects of the Silicon Valley, proximity to the coast, proximity to Asia, proximity to a lot of things, made it an innovation hub for real, the real thing. So we can certainly do that here in Nevada because I'll tell you, when you're in Silicon Valley, I remember asking, I was a McDonald's employee when I was much younger. I was in high school. We did not make a lot of money. We were making $3.25 an hour, I think, $3.15, $3.25 an hour. It's gone up since then. But if you are not in tech in Silicon Valley, you have to be very creative. You have to have purchased a home before 1983, the 90s. You have to be in a lucrative business that is tech adjacent, perhaps, or can somehow, real estate, clearly. If you can buy and sell properties and take advantage of that, if you can get in on some stocks early, there are always stories of, I will say this, not insulting anyone, but the normal people that work at startups, the tech startups of Silicon Valley, plenty of stories of the reception person at Cisco got 5,000 pre-IPO shares when the company started in lieu of, a normal salary. And that person became quite wealthy. So you can capitalize on tech without being in tech. Maybe that's something to think about. So if Vegas wants to go down that path, if the greater Vegas area, Clark County, the entire state of Nevada doesn't operate as a single unit, so I'm focusing on Southern Nevada. First thing we can do is provide for some sort of software startup establishment, and that's what's happening. So if you want to be an entrepreneur in the greater Vegas area and you want to take part in LV Startup Week, you'll find there's some focus on the usual things. But if you were thinking of starting a restaurant or a bar or a normal, quote unquote, normal business, retail, wholesale, services, consulting, the list goes on and on. There are plenty of things to do that are not tech. Well, LV Startup Week was probably not for you. We want startups, but they have to be developing software. They have to be the next unicorn. They have to be looking for an exit. It's always fun to be thinking about your dream to launch your own company. And then the immediate next thought is, now how can I dump this thing and make money on it? And more importantly, pay my investors, which is the ultimate goal. The Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, also linked in the show notes. was hiring and has since hired let me get the title right, got the letter, the job description right here, Senior Vice President of Entrepreneurial Development. I don't know if that's the actual title. It may have changed. Certainly the job description may have changed. So this is going back to the summer of 2023. But I would like to read the bullet items for the ecosystem performance metrics. These are the measurements by which the job performance of this person that takes this role, Senior Vice President, Entrepreneurial Development, they'll have to accomplish these things or make them happen. Some are all the following, and this will be in comparison with other markets. Got to be better than everybody else. Early stage funding compared with national and global averages. That means we must have more funding. Access to capital is a known issue here. Ask anyone, they'll tell you that. Got to be competitive on median seed round valuations. It doesn't say, it says literally median seed round. Median Series A round. So essentially they want to have good valuations. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish. You better bring in some money. Better bring some investment. Number of software developers / engineers. Sorry, I have an actual engineering degree, so it always makes me laugh when people throw those terms around. Software developers / engineers in Las Vegas. So you better get software developers out here, not the other kind of engineers, mechanical materials, electronics, environmental. That list goes on and on and on. Software developers and / engineers of some type must have more. Software engineer salary. Okay, I can get behind that. Note, so I'm assuming that they mean software developers / software engineers, not the other kinds. So software engineer salary. Software developers, you're on your own. So I am a software engineer, by the way. You should be too. Number of exits each year. That's the one that's always exciting because that's telling you better sell your company so you can pay off your investors. That's what we care about. Exit. Time to exit. That means you better work hard. You better get that number of years down. You better be working 24/7 and then some. Get that money for your investors, exit, and then most likely move to another place. There are a couple of things that are wrong with this picture. Like I've said, I say it all the time, broken record. Entrepreneurialism is not startups, especially software startups. Software startups can be entrepreneurial. If you presume from the beginning that entrepreneurialism, if you are hiring a senior vice president of entrepreneurial development, you better be clear to people that we don't consider you an entrepreneur if you're not developing an app. So if you're going to open a restaurant, you better build an app too, just in case. You better get that seed round. You better do all these things that are super important. The performance of our ecosystem depends on making these numbers. Is that healthy? Is that going to work? Is that going to work in an economy that is fun? The fun economy is real. Like I said, I would like to see the fun economy succeed. I have no problem with that. I'm not here to argue against that. What I will say, though, if we look during the pandemic, you can check these numbers. The numbers are a little bit all over the place. So a deep dive into the actual impact of a crisis like that in our local economy is essential. I have a feeling somebody's done that. So let's throw some numbers around for the moment. 25 to 40% increase in rent meant that if you were in the service industry and you were not getting substantial economic support, if you're not getting unemployment, if you're not able to subsist on the not inflationary government funds that were made available to people impacted, maybe if you were a small business, you were able to receive some PPP loans and whatnot. Maybe you bought a Lamborghini and went to jail. Who knows? But quite a few people were priced out and went away. That's why today there are hundreds, possibly even thousands of job openings on the Strip in hospitality, service industry. Durango and Fontainebleau need more people. I'm sure they'll open with whatever they have. But yeah, a lot of the people that were working in service industry cannot afford to live here. This exact same thing happened in Silicon Valley. That's why at some points you were being paid more than the usual, more than minimum wage to work in some of these business areas, the service industry and other non-tech, if you're not able to make tech salaries in an economy that became so tech heavy. So I would express concern today about what would happen if we really did gentrify the greater Vegas economy for the sake of developing a tech economy that is leaning so heavily towards software. Software, by the way, software development is great because I can develop software in your coffee shop, like Desert Wind Coffee Roasters. Unpaid plug, but a great place to go hang out. You should do it. So I can go and I can bring my software developers to Las Vegas, and we can develop our software platform, our software application. We can develop our whole business around this concept. Our need for infrastructure is very small. We can use the cloud. We can use the plugs in the walls at the coffee shop. We don't really need to have an office. Maybe if we start growing substantially, but we can put all of our resources into the development process rather than our own infrastructure needs. Now that's great. Can my team live in Las Vegas? Well, you better have pay stubs. That becomes tricky. Can we get around Las Vegas? Well, it's always kind of a pain. It's always construction. It's always, or is there a large tech community here? Well, no, not yet, but there may be someday. Well, but I keep hearing about the tech sector, the startup scene, all this stuff. Well, yeah, there is some. There's a few hundred people. Yeah, but the Clark County is 2.3 million. Yeah, well, some of those people will become programmers, maybe. So the path to this is not really clear. My personal opinion, it will take 10 years to develop, cultivate an innovation culture in the greater Vegas area. If we start now, anyone in 7th grade at around age 12, should be thinking, I would like to be an innovator. I'd like to be in some sort of innovation role. It doesn't have to be tech, doesn't have to be code, but doing something innovative and inventive, changing the world, solving problems, tackling new ideas, making them happen. So 7th grade. So 10 years from now, those 7th graders will be graduating from college. They may be graduating from UNLV or UNR here in Nevada or somewhere else. They may come back to, or they may stay in Nevada. Who knows? The fact, though, is that the current innovation culture is geared much more towards what I will call normal innovation, which is also totally fine. Innovation in food and drink, absolutely. Innovation in entertainment, we got it. There's an actual major at UNLV, if I'm not mistaken, that combines stagecraft. That means essentially everything that Cirque du Soleil does as far as like safety harnesses and rigging stage sets and lighting and all that, with engineering. So you actually have a mechanical background, which would be nice to have. So you know what torque is, for example. So we have these things. We have a hospitality major that is very strong. We have an entire industry focused on being creative about maximizing the fun economy and the approximately 40 million people that visit each year to participate in it, to feed it, if you will. So we are not a non-innovation place at this time. So innovation culture, though, if you really want to be the next Silicon Valley, you really need to consider being innovative well beyond what we have today. We are not doing that. There are loads of smart city possibilities we could be taking advantage of. We could be making our smart city smarter. We could even have a nonprofit organization right here in Greater Vegas called the Innovate for Vegas Foundation that could do those sorts of things, but for the lack of participation on all sides. We don't have an innovation mindset at our highest levels, and we don't have a population of people who think about tech innovation or technology innovation. People think tech is software, but anything from, like I said, food and drink to accessibility. We have a lot of people from other countries. Why not ensure that the people visiting who have needs, special needs, or unusual requirements for moving, for seeing or not seeing, for hearing or not hearing, etc. Why are we not taking advantage of that? Why are we not taking advantage of the various languages that are spoken and making the city any language friendly? Europe has done this with traffic signs. There's no real need to read a lot if you know the symbols that they use. So if you're visiting another country somewhere in Europe, there's a really small chance of being confused by which street sign means what. We don't have that here. So the list goes on. We could be taking advantage of innovation culture that isn't necessarily focused completely on tech. It could include tech. And by the way, I will point out, as I so often do, tech is not absent. There are people in the Greater Vegas area who are conducting their startup efforts. It could be software, it could be hardware, it could be mechanical systems, it could be manufacturing technologies, it could be any number of things. There are a lot of people here doing this. So we do not lack an entrepreneurial innovation ecosystem. The question, though, is that can we support a shift in our economy with what we have today and with the expertise and guidance and direction that we will rely on to make sure that happens? And I would say no. I don't know if I'm being clear there. We don't have it yet. When I first moved to Vegas in 2013 from Silicon Valley, once people discovered that I was from Silicon Valley, they wanted to know what would it take for this to be just like Silicon Valley. I'll spare you my glib typical response. But essentially, there's a need for infrastructure investment that has not taken place. And it has not really taken place sufficiently in the last 10 years to say that we could be the next Silicon Valley anytime soon. So infrastructure investment will come from individuals. There is a retired population in Southern Nevada, so they may be interested in investment locally. Statistics say maybe not, maybe low confidence. Small and medium businesses, that's us. We can invest in infrastructure. You can have an office building built perhaps, or certainly lease office space if you are up to the task of paying those bills. There's big business. We have Amazon, Google, Zappos, all sorts of companies that do have their own buildings. They have their own resources. They may construct a warehouse if you're Amazon. They may construct a call center facility if you're Google. Zappos has their headquarters downtown, so that they took over the old city hall. So there's a new city hall. So companies of a certain size are able to make infrastructure work for them. And then there are the fun economy movers. These are people, companies, entities, public money that can tear down and construct things like, for example, tearing down the Tropicana and building a baseball stadium with some public funds. The Formula One folks building a racetrack for $500 or $600 million with some permanent structures and all the other temporary chaos. Those are big players. But the fun economy is worth building the Fontainebleau, even if it takes 20 years or whatever it took. Building Resorts World, which also took quite a while. These are structures that make Vegas Vegas. They're ultimately worthwhile. They do generate big dollars. So those are the things that get the attention. Are we getting education resources? Maybe. Are we getting innovation resources? Now, this means, can we enable, I already told you, if you're a software startup, you can do this in a coffee shop. There's no reason to get office space here. If it's you and two of your friends and you want to come to Vegas and hang out and start a company, you can do that. But you can also do that and come and visit Vegas. I'm getting ahead of myself here. So what sorts of innovation resources do we have? We have the Tech Park, the Harry S. Reid Technology Park, which I have linked to in the show notes. That is coming along. That will be a few years, but it's coming along nicely. There's Blackfire Innovation is in the Tech Park. They focus on hospitality and gaming innovation. Totally appropriate. Fun economy. There's some Hollywood 2.0 in the offing, also at the Tech Park, but in Summerlin as well. Some solid investment in production facilities for making movies because we have to be like Hollywood. It could work. Tax credits did not pass through our state government, and there was a writer strike and some other issues. But someday you may be seeing movies produced here in vast numbers, raking in the dough. Presumably these first two will create jobs, right? You can work at the Tech Park. You can have businesses at the Tech Park. There's a co-work space, Cooperate, in the floor below the Blackfire Innovation Center in the Tech Park now in one of the buildings. So these are resources that will enable, union members to come and produce movies here. Whether they live here or not is another question. Sometimes you go where the movies are being produced, so that remains to be seen. But these are job creation possibilities, of course, and then what comes of them. The Clark County Innovation District, which is, from what I've read, and I do have a link in the show notes with the proposal for the Clark County Innovation District. It looks a lot like the Innovation District of the city of Las Vegas. Bars, restaurants, coffee houses, I think they say, coffee shops, co-work spaces. People can mingle and meet and discuss and ideate and start companies. If you build it, they will come, obviously. Clark County, Southern Nevada was not put on the list of 31 innovation hubs across the country by the federal government. I've already talked about them in previous episodes. We'll talk about this again So I'll save that for the future. So our innovation resources here are based mostly on traditional innovation, which we already have people doing that in their respective fields and areas of interest. So we have a whole arts district. So there's innovation in the creative arts. We have theater. We have certainly no shortage of restaurants and bars and public spaces where events take place. There are entertainment venues. There are people doing creative things with technology, a lot of drones. Nevada was one of the first adopters of the FAA drone testing requirements. So Nevada was one of, I believe it was 6 test sites around the United States, including Hawaii. I don't know if Alaska was in on that, where you could test your drones or in general unmanned, what is it? UAVs, unmanned autonomous vehicles, I think it was. There are various acronyms now, but essentially that's why Nevada has been able to kind of enable testing of and use of driverless vehicles, drones, airborne drones, and so on, because of our early adoption of this FAA requirement to enable this. And so Nevada was a place to be to test these things. Now it's not the only place to do these things, so gotta add some more innovation possibility. And then entrepreneurialism. There have been some recent legislation passages, AB 75, AB 77, I believe those are. I have an article in the show notes that touches on those and the implications. So those have been passed. They basically enable individual investors, so they relax some of the requirements for accreditation of investors. And then also basically try to establish some infrastructure for resources, support, financial, etc. Support in financial means and so on. So the idea is from the state down, there will be funding resources, there will be support resources for training and for general information and so on and so on. So there are a couple of issues here. First of all, you cannot simply turn an entire battleship of a state around and say, we have been succeeding for decades around a fun economy or the Washoe County economy, which from what I've learned over the years has benefited so much from its proximity to Silicon Valley. Sierra Nevada is up there, some other tech companies, but essentially, we've been following a path. I have no idea if there's a legitimate expectation or belief or just a pipe dream that we are going to suddenly become the most entrepreneurial state in the world, which is, I believe, one of the campaign promises our new Governor Joe Lombardo, made. That could happen. It might happen. But does that mean entrepreneurialism of any kind, or are we still imagining that this will be a tech mecca where people must come to relocate their businesses, hire all their employees, make them and their families move to Vegas, and so on, gentrify the place, price our service industry out, undo our fun economy, and everybody learns to code? I've actually heard people suggest that that's completely viable. It is not. So will those work out? Do we have too much gatekeeping by people with an agenda? Do we have too much consolidation of these resources? Yes. Should you relocate to Nevada with your tech startup to be successful? No, I don't want to mince words there. So relocating is not required. The fun economy needs 2 things. One, it needs people that are here and the infrastructure that they will enable. So we need casinos and resorts and some ways to get around that are not public transit, because that's never going to work. Roads that can manage to not be under construction for a little while. A good airport, which we do have. Shopping, entertainment, all the fun economy components. We are gaining more professional sports with the A's moving from Oakland, maybe. We'll see if their funding story holds up. The Raiders, the Golden Knights, more teams. The possibility of the Grand Prix making a return in 2024 and beyond. All of these are fun economy. So the infrastructure and the people to support that infrastructure, essential. So those need to be here. Southern Nevada, Clark County, has 2.3 million people, residents, according to the 2020 census. So we certainly have a lot of people. We still have, as I'm speaking right now, something like 5+% unemployment. We have super high unemployment relative to other places around the country. So we have lots of people and lots of jobs. Nobody's putting those together for some reason. But relocation in those cases, if you want to be in the service industry, if you want to be in the gaming industry, if you want to, obviously, if you are a raider, it's convenient to live near where you practice with your team. So there are some cases where relocation here makes sense. If you're a sports fan, you don't need to move here. If you are a race fan, you don't need to move here. Although if you're a race fan, you can save on your room if you just buy a house here. It's about the same price. Are you building infrastructure? So unless you're one of the fun economy big boys, big players, the casinos, resorts, stadiums, and so on, if you're not building infrastructure, or if you're Google or an Amazon or maybe Zappos. If you're Google and Amazon needs another warehouse for shipping, great. Thanks to Enron, we have internet infrastructure that is quite fast, quite capable. So many companies host at the switch in Enterprise, southern Clark County. And there are other companies of different sizes, different industries that have resources and facilities, and they can build more, and they are usually mentioned sometimes in the business press of the area with regard to job creation, contribution to the economy, and so on. If you're building a school that will work, you're probably invited, but you will not receive any sort of financial or other support whatsoever. You'll only be blind. Unless you're building a private school, maybe private charter schools, come on in, but you still might not get any support. And remember, if you're a visitor, you're always welcome. This entire place is built for you. We have our racetrack right in the middle of everything. We have another racetrack that you can also visit and drive Lamborghinis around the track if you want. You can come here and fire machine guns. You can jump out of planes. You can take helicopter tours. You can eat any number of crazy good restaurants, and they're sometimes interesting ethnic fare, sometimes creative, sometimes celebrity chef driven. No shortage of libations to sample. Some very talented mixologists, flair bartenders, if you have the time. We have no shortage of those things. So should you pick up your company that might be, maybe you're considering Texas, maybe you're in Austin, should you move from, maybe you have a Delaware corporation, you're not paying taxes, all of those implications. Should you just pick up and move to Nevada? Well, if you like the Wild Wild West, we have that. We don't have some of the things you would expect in a true sort of tech hub or innovation hub. A lot of under construction, literally and figuratively. So you can come here and be a part of those early days. If you want to be a startup, but also be in a startup, nothing is quite ready for you. Maybe you'll get funding, maybe you won't. Your venture capitalist firm or your other investors may say, why are you in Vegas? There's no innovation culture there. Why don't you move to Sand Hill Road, somewhere in the Bay Area? Why don't you move to Utah? Why don't you move to the Austin area? Why don't you move to Denver? Why don't you move to New York? The list goes on. So you may find yourself, after relocating again, depending on your funding sources, if you need funding, if you're pursuing a tech startup. Clearly, if you're starting a company that is in the gaming realm, or if you would benefit from being exposed to 40 million people, and remember, population 2.3 million, but you can service some fraction of 40 million people visiting here every year, and they come here, they're inbound. So your entire business could be taking advantage of that. If you are developing a software platform or some sort of hardware or some system that caters specifically to people anywhere, do you need to be in Vegas? Well, you could be in Vegas to take advantage of those engagements, but do you need to be based in Vegas? Not necessarily. I mentioned we have a great airport. We have 155,000 hotel rooms. I don't know if that includes, I don't think it includes Durango and Fontainebleau. So we have lots and lots and lots of hotel rooms. We have convention centers. We have lots of meeting spaces. We have no shortage of co-work and coffee shop and meetup and collaboration options. So you can come here anytime you want. We would love that. Contribute to our economy and then go back home. Or you can relocate your company here and face some housing challenges. Obviously, getting around the city is interesting. You can face a talent pool challenge if you want to scale and you want to hire. That's already been a problem identified by our very own CTO when I had a conversation about this very thing in the summer of 2022. We do not have a tech workforce. We have a normal workforce. We have a workforce from our education system that will mostly work for other people and will sometimes start their own businesses or companies. It might be a retail establishment, a solopreneur. It might be a small lifestyle business. It might be an actual business to pursue growth and eventual sale after investment and so on. So there's like a normal city. That's what we are. So does it automatically make sense to move to Las Vegas? Maybe or maybe not. I say, and I've been saying this for about 10 years now, your company may be located in more than one location, or it may just be somewhere. You may have remote workers. Remote work is still a thing. It will be for a while. And it may end up being more of a thing than it was during the pandemic once we figure out how to make it work. I will say that during my time with Intel Corporation, every year they would bring their sales and marketing folks from around the world to one destination city in our little oasis, the Intel Sales and Marketing Conference, ISMC, usually staying at the Venetian. Intel loves the Venetian. Every year. So a private conference for all their sales and marketing. Come to Vegas. Don't need to move here. Just come here, stay, enjoy the city, take advantage of our fun economy, get some work done, wrap it up, get on a plane, go back to your particular area where you sell Intel products. That can work across industries. It can work across innovation focus. By the way, Vegas is not, and it hasn't been for quite some time, the adults only place that has been made famous over the years. There are some places that do require that you're 21, including even the Circa, the new casino resort downtown Vegas on Fremont. Occasionally there will be innovation-oriented events and gatherings and award shows and whatnot that have a 21 plus requirement, which is ludicrous. It's a fundamental disconnect from how innovation works. You do not need to be 21 to be an innovator. So divorcing ourselves of this notion to be an actual innovation culture rich region, we need to understand that innovation happens at any time. There's no minimum age, there's no maximum age. Our fun economy, however, sort of geared more towards 21 plus, but we do have family-friendly options, so family-friendly and adult fun. So if you bring your team to Vegas every once in a while, they can bring their families. And while you're having a work days in a co-work environment or a conference, or maybe you're bringing together partner companies or vendors or other consultants or who knows. Maybe you're even working with some of our local talent, because we do have some. Maybe the family can come out and they can go to Area 15, or they can go hiking, or they can go shopping at any of our various malls, or they can go see movies, or like a normal place. So family friendly. We still have our adult entertainment. You can go out drinking or worse. Our economy has what you need. Fun. And then go home. Come back next month, or have your annual gathering of your colleagues, have a ideation sprint, come out for a week or two, then head back, execute. We don't necessarily have the prototyping resource. We don't necessarily have lab space. Maybe you're doing something with bio or med or chem. We don't necessarily have mechanical resources if you're doing any sort of experimentation with manufacturing or structural anything. Not yet, anyway. If you want to build some infrastructure, great. But you can certainly gather here, our destination city, take advantage of the human resources we have fun here, contribute to our economy, contribute to your own success as a startup or an ongoing concern, and don't think that being in Las Vegas requires that you move to Las Vegas. You're welcome anytime. We quite literally keep the lights on for you. Bring your own water, though, if you could, and leave it here if you don't drink it. So at the end of the day, my concerns, the notion that we are going to be the next Silicon Valley are, well, we are a fun economy. We have entrepreneurialism. We have some innovation. We are not the next Silicon Valley. Does money flow from the top down? It seems to. Are money-making ventures like Grand Prix focused a lot on the money-making and not so much on the people making it happen? We've seen that happened. that did happen from the perspective of the employees who would have to get to work and who were left to chance until very late in the game. Does our locality understand what it would take to enable an innovation culture? I'm not sure. Maybe somewhat. The proposal for the innovation district definitely left me wanting. I suggest you flip through that and ask yourself which parts of that innovation district are innovative. Wander around downtown in the existing innovation district. Now, innovation district as part of Las Vegas, it's not part of Clark County, so maybe there's more of that envy going on. Who can say? I would pour that money into the tech park. I would enable time-shared resources for innovators who want to bring their teams here. Maybe they're a virtual startup. Maybe they don't have a fixed location. Maybe they're incorporated in Delaware. Maybe they're incorporated in Nevada. We have certain tax advantages here. But maybe their team lives all around the world. So come to Vegas. Oh, we need a robotics lab, or we need a space where we can do some material science. We need some place where we can do some bio. Get that tech park built. I called it the Fusion Center when I was first talking about this 10 years ago with the people at UNLV. Fuse the skills, talents, and resources of the students at UNLV, the local talent, whether they're experts in a particular field or whether they have their consultancies or other vending services that can support entrepreneurialism and innovation of various kinds from various places, local or elsewhere. Connect those with visitors, people who are visiting for trade shows and conferences, or who, as I've just suggested, bring their remote teams to one location, spend a week or two synchronizing their efforts, ideating hackathons or innovation sprints. Do those here in Vegas. And hey, we might even be able to support you with the infrastructure you need for these short-term exercises. If you need a specific type of building, build one. Should you build it in Vegas? Maybe, maybe not. These are things that will take time to shake out. Like I said, 10 years to develop a talent pool. If we start today, an innovation culture with people in it who are innovators, who know how to innovate and who know how to collaborate in doing so. Bring your startup to Vegas. Hang out. Do some innovating. Maybe check out the tech park once it's in a functional operational state. Relocating to Vegas? Ask those hard questions. What about this access to capital? Is there a supportive ecosystem? Does it enable what I'm trying to accomplish? Relocating is quite the commitment, but you can come to Vegas anytime. Innovation destination. Think about it. I do. And so ends episode 40 of the Cafe Genius Impresarios audio program on this, the 1st of December, 2023. In previous episodes, I went into some of the pre and mid Grand Prix concerns. If you envision the Grand Prix as a next Silicon Valley style project, get $500 million, $600 million of investment, don't quite pay enough attention initially to the people on the ground who are they're going to be a fundamental part of making it happen. Some oversights there, some oversight due to lack of oversight, perhaps. So as that was implemented with a timeline and with serious investment and a built-in fan base, let's examine the things that were not considered, the things that didn't go quite as planned, the things that could have been done better. And let's step back and think, what's really involved in building an innovation ecosystem? Can it be built or does it emerge? That's an argument for another time. Can we enable or facilitate an entrepreneurial ecosystem that will allow entrepreneurs to flourish? Can we cultivate an innovation culture that will enable and encourage real innovation from the people around us? We can always import these things, and that will be very expensive. We've already talked about gentrification. We've already talked about pricing out the people who make our fun economy go. So I will close on something I've said many times. Don't try to be the next Silicon Valley. Try to be a better Las Vegas.